It was the rainy season in her small Thai village near the banks of the Mekong River. Rain fell in warm, heavy sheets, drenching the red earth and swelling the river with life. And with the rain came the usual sicknesses, sniffles, fevers, sore throats, and coughing fits that echoed across the village like background music to everyday life. Everyone was coughing. At first, Naree thought it was the same thing everyone else had. She brewed ginger tea with honey and lemongrass, let the steam ease the tickle in her throat. She chewed betel leaves like her grandmother had taught her, and her mother massaged her back with tiger balm, whispering a prayer to the house spirits. But weeks passed. The cough didn't fade. It changed, deepened, turned dry and hacking. It left her ribs sore and her throat raw. Then one morning, while rinsing her mouth at the basin outside, she saw it, a fleck of blood in the water, swirling like red ink. Her family began to whisper. "TB," her aunt said, just like Uncle Fong had. They brought her to the village clinic, a squat concrete building with peeling paint and a single overworked doctor who barely looked at her before scribbling on a prescription pad. "Tuberculosis, very common here," he muttered. "Just take these antibiotics. You'll feel better soon." But she didn't. 2 months passed. The antibiotics ran out. Her symptoms worsened. Her coughs turned violent, seizing her lungs like clenched fists. She'd double over on the floor, gasping for breath as pain stabbed beneath her ribs. Her mornings began with hacking up thick, rust-colored phlegm that smelled like old pennies. Her nights ended with her too tired to eat, too weak to rise from her mat. Her skin grew pale and papery. Her collarbones jutted out like wings. When she coughed up a mouthful of bright red blood, her brother finally said, "Enough." That same night, they boarded the overnight bus to Bangkok, a 15-hour journey she barely remembered through her fever haze. Siriraj Hospital was a world away from the village clinic, clean, cool, and filled with quiet urgency. The young pulmonologist, Dr. Somsak, frowned as he examined her scans. Something was wrong. The CT images showed shadows, cavities in her lungs. Not the well-defined lesions of tuberculosis, but irregular holes, scattered like someone had burrowed through her tissue with a spoon. Some of the shapes moved between scans. Slowly. He leaned closer, heart sinking. "Those aren't TB lesions," he murmured to his team. "Those are parasites." Blood tests and a bronchoscopy confirmed it. Paragonymous westermani. Lung flukes. Flatworms that infect humans who consume raw or undercooked freshwater crabs or crayfish. The realization struck Naree like a thunderclap. The riverside market. The crab salad. The vendor who'd said the meat was just caught. She had eaten it greedily, savoring its sweetness beneath the spicy dressing. She remembered laughing with her cousin, licking sauce from her fingers. She hadn't known she was swallowing larvae. The flukes had traveled through her intestines, pierced her abdominal wall, crept through her diaphragm, and nested in her lungs, thriving, multiplying. Some had even formed cysts. Others, more daring, moved freely. The treatment, they warned her, would not be easy. She was given praziquantel, a potent anti-parasitic. It worked by forcing the flukes to detach from her tissues, but detachment didn't always mean death. Some died quietly, entombed in cysts. Others became agitated, desperate to escape. The first time she coughed one up, she thought she was dying. It began as an itch, a maddening tickle deep in her chest. Then the sensation of movement, something crawling up her windpipe. She choked and gagged, eyes bulging, before a warm, wet thing expelled itself into her cupped hands. A reddish-brown fluke, nearly a centimeter long. It twitched in the hospital basin, still alive. She screamed. Over the next 2 weeks, it happened again. Not every day, but often enough to rob her of sleep. She dreaded closing her eyes. She couldn't stop imagining them inside her, coiled in the soft darkness of her lungs, waking, stretching, slithering upward. Doctors collected the expelled flukes for analysis. One was still alive after 30 minutes in saline. Her body began to recover after the final dose of medication, but her mind did not. The scars on her lungs were permanent. Breathing felt different, shallow, tight, like her lungs had never fully reopened. She startled easily. Couldn't stand the sound of water boiling, couldn't eat seafood, couldn't go near the river where she'd once fished with her father as a child. The trauma clung to her like smoke. Naree developed a habit of pressing her hand to her chest before sleeping, trying to feel if something was stirring. At first, it was just habit. Later, it became obsession. Every itch, every cough, every flutter of muscle made her freeze in fear. "Are they back?" she'd whisper. Her nightmares were vivid. She dreamed of crabs with human eyes, of coughing up ropes of worms, of drowning in her own blood as something burst from her chest. The only thing that kept her grounded was the specimen jar on the shelf in Dr. Somsak's office. Inside it floated a single preserved fluke, reddish, curled, perfectly still. "Proof," he'd said when she asked why he kept it. "For patients. For you." She visited that jar once before leaving the hospital for good, just to look, to see the thing that had made her feel like she was losing her mind, to know that it was real, that it was over. But even now, months later, back in her village, she isn't sure she believes it. The rainy season has returned. The smell of cooking crab wafts through the windows at dusk. And sometimes, as she lies awake listening to the river murmur in the dark, she feels something, not pain exactly, but an awareness. A memory embedded deep in her lungs, as though they had left something behind, as though part of her still belonged to them. Because the true horror, she learned, isn't coughing up the first parasite, it's knowing there were dozens more. Knowing they had lived inside her, fed on her, grown in her lungs. And that next time, they might not be so merciful. The deadliest creatures aren't always found in the jungle or the river. Sometimes, they're already inside you, waiting, silent.